Am I live now? Yes. So welcome our Zoom kids and welcome even the YouTube live kids. So bachcho, today what we are going to talk about is one of the learnings of mine. I know why you are here. You are looking for the strategy which is in thumbnail, the atom strategy or atom structure strategy as you may call it. Actually, let me put some context forward how this thing came about, what was the problem area and what was the solution to it. And this actually strategy was more of a solution to a problem. Now, what exactly in our model is, we divide the people into 5 different percentile based groupings. For example, 60 percentile, 70, 80, 90. So there are 5 levels in our courses. So what exactly in that what we were experiencing was, जो 6, 7 और 8 series के लोग थे, they used to struggle a lot with the verbal part, but the 9 and the 10 series people were not struggling so much with the verbal. Now, verbal when we are talking about is actually based upon the understanding part. Verbal, most of the students usually take it as an English test, and that's where the fault lines are. So what exactly the point I'm saying is, you have to clearly understand one thing very clearly, is that whenever you are being tested in CAT or a GMAT, even SSC, UPSC, SAT, CLAT, CUET, etc., whether it is a UG, PG, whatever the level, it is an IQ based testing. So IQ based testing is actually concerned with your intellect rather than your language skills. So what exactly in that thing happens is, हर चीज understanding based हो जाता है. So what exactly happens is, para summaries हो, para jumbles हो, reading comprehension हो, and even critical reasoning हो. So in all these situations, actually the baseline, or I would say the root point, और जिसे हम हिंदी में बोलेंगे मूल point, है आपका understanding part. So how well you are able to understand the given paragraph or a question stem in the reading, in the critical reasoning, or a paragraph or a passage in the reading comprehension. तो main point है आपका understanding part. तो मैं once for rephrase बोलते हैं, the number 1 language skills test नहीं होता है. So vocabulary is not needed. रीडिंग स्पीड नॉट नीडेड. अगर आप कहीं भी ये चीज़ें देख रहे हैं तो इट इज़ मोर ऑफ ए मार्केटिंग गिमिक रादर देन द रियल टेस्ट प्रिपरेशन. आपका जो वर्बल है इज़ नॉट कॉल्ड एन इंग्लिश टेस्ट, इट इज़ कॉल्ड ए वर्बल टेस्ट एंड इट इज़ टोटली बेस्ड अपॉन चेकिंग योर इंटेलेक्ट. अब क्वेश्चन है कि why they are checking my intellect? Because they are concerned with that only. Let's say I'm making you, in the UPSC case, let's say you are becoming a collector, or let's say in the SSC case you are becoming an income tax inspector. Let's say in the GMAT and the CAT you are going for IIMs or business schools. Just think about, would they be concerned about your language English skills, or would they be concerned about your intellectual equity or intellect? So once more I'm repeating, quant is not a maths test and verbal is not an English test. So today the whole talk is about the verbal part, and I'm going to introduce one strategy through which I call it as atom strategy. Okay, let me tell you what exactly is an atom strategy. थोड़ा सा context देता हूँ so that you will understand what was the problem area I was facing and why this strategy came about. Actually, it's more of a learning for me even. I never prepared in my case, or I never assumed this strategy of mine. Actually, this strategy came when I was interacting with others. The point what I'm saying is, most of the strategies when people talk about are the strategies of theirs. For example, if any teacher is giving a strategy, it is not a strategy which may or may not help you in your case. I meant to say, my strategy is actually based upon my strengths and my weaknesses. So strategies are built on everyone's unique abilities. So my strategy may not work for you. Most of the times आप जब टीचर्स को सुन रहे होते हैं तो यू आर एक्चुअली just listening to other person's strategy. So it may or may not work for you, and most of the time it will not work. Reason being, you are a unique individual. You have your own unique weakness, unique strengths. So what exactly happened is, so what I'm saying is this strategy is built, came about or was built when I was interacting with the students. In this case in particularly, what we do is, as I told you, we divide people into 5 different groupings. In the lower percentile groups like 6 and 7 and the 8 series groups, what I was finding out was, and even many of the teachers were finding out, was that it was very difficult for us to imbibe the idea of a main idea, how to pull out a main idea of a paragraph. And let me, मैं हिंदी में भी इसे बोलता हूँ कि लोअर सीरीज में जो लोअर परसेंटाइल बेस्ड ग्रुप्स थे उसमें हमें बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था कि हाउ टू make people understand or work out the main idea out of a passage or a paragraph. Now, what exactly was happening was, you may think that critical reasoning is very much different from reading comprehension, and para jumbles or para summaries are very, very much different from the others. Actually, when you look at every section, whether it is a reading comprehension, whether it is a critical reasoning, para summary, para jumble, whatever you may call it, and whatever the section might be called, and whatever the way they are putting the question, even a new section, a new thing may come tomorrow. But then also everything will always talk about the understanding part. अगर आप समझ गए तो आपका आंसर सही होगा. The point what I'm saying is, if you are able to understand the passage in the reading comprehension and in critical reasoning, अगर वो STEM question or the paragraph, if you are able to understand, it would be very easy for you to hit it. That's why I say, हर IQ test आपका इंटेलेक्ट चेक करता है या इंटेलिजेंस चेक करता है. तो इंटेलिजेंस कैसे चेक करेंगे? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से आई वांट टू चेक योर इंटेलिजेंस. हाउ विल आई चेक इट? मैं आपको एक कहानी सुनाऊंगा. आई विल टेल यू अ स्टोरी, आई विल गिव यू अ पैसेज जस्ट लाइक द रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन. आई विल आस्क यू very minute question, and now in that minute question when I'm asking you, you may think about कि ये strategy will work or that strategy will work. Strategy तो work करेगा या नहीं करेगा, that's a different story. But the main thing is, are you able to understand it first or not? If you are not able to understand the question, leave aside the answer. Leave aside the strategy. Now, when I would like everyone to interact, but spam mat karo bachcho. Put the questions which, there are so many chat messages which keeps on coming, but most of the thing it looks like people are not listening much to it. Achha, now coming back to the main point, I'll give an example to you. I'll even show in one of the paragraph. I'll show you in the paragraphs what exactly I mean. The point what I'm trying to say is, understanding matters the most. अगर आप समझ जाओगे तो it would become very much easy for you to understand. Now, in most of the verbal things, when you look at the verbal sessions of many of the teachers, you would be talking about keywords. They would be using all kind of marketing gimmicks like keywords, complementary words, supplementary words, contrasting words, blah blah blah. Just look at the way you have been taught all throughout in the school, in the college times. You are not the first time you're learning English or you're looking at the English passage or a paragraph. How does the contrasting word as a keyword matters to you? Reason being, what I'm saying is, when you are talking on a daily basis in the same language, आप हजारों कीवर्ड, हजारों contrasting word दिन में 1,000 times, maybe even million times you use. So how exactly, if you are able to pull out a contrasting or a keyword out of a paragraph, how will it help you to understand the passage? I'll give a point to you. Let's say there is a very sentence with some of the words which you may not know. You may say that vocabulary, that's why we say vocabulary is needed. But an IQ test is designed in such a way that it is always the context meaning. Okay, it is never based upon a difficult word meaning. I mean to say, difficult words can be there and usually are there, but then also an intelligent mind is tested that how that person is able to understand the whole thing without even going into the details of that single word. Okay, वो word को बिना समझे भी क्या मैं context से वो meaning को समझ पा रहा हूँ क्या? And let me put you very bluntly, I'll put it. अगर आप main idea किसी भी चीज़ का समझ जाएंगे तो आपका वो आंसर always correct होगा, whatever the strategy you may use. You may use any teacher strategy, whether it is keyword strategy, contrasting, supplementary, complementary, whatever they talk about. But my understanding is a very simple one. हम normal English में या normal language में एक sentence में 1000 times we use keywords, 1000 times we use contrasting words, so it doesn't help you in understanding actually. What the point I'm saying is, अगर वो passage में without even looking at the difficult words, if you are able to come out with the meaning of the passage or the paragraph, काम हो गया, that's it, वही चाहिए हमें IQ test is करना है. That's the only thing. We are not here to do a PhD in English, okay, not even a PhD in maths, and no one is interested even in that. So the whole target is to score. The point what I'm trying to say is, now coming to the I've given the context, now I'll bring the full matter. Now in many of the sessions I was talking about one of the EON essays, and that in EON essays there was a movie by the name Arrival. In 2016 or 17 it came. In that movie what exactly happened is some of the aliens comes to Earth and they are trying to communicate with humans. Us communication mein they are not able to communicate, they are giving some symbols and everything, and on the basis of that there was a passage in EON. And I was teaching that thing in different percentile group. Now 9 and 10 percentile group, that is the 90, 80 percentile groups, they were able to ace it very clearly. They were able to come out with the main idea very easily. But when I was talking about the 6, 7 or the 8 series, what exactly I was finding out was that these people were struggling with the main idea, and many of the times I used to struggle a lot with the 6, 7, 8 series. I'm not saying the 60 percentile is a 60 percentile person. I'm saying right now the persons, if I check it, if I go into any mapping test or any test, that person is coming into the 60 percentile groups or 70 percentile groups. Now what exactly happens is all सभी बच्चे जब start करते हैं तो इसी groups में होते हैं. It's not like that these people will grow into 9 or the 10 series as the course flows, but everyone starts from 6 or 7 or 8 series. Now what exactly happened is, whenever I was putting a passage to them, and obviously easy passage तो सभी कर लेते हैं and everyone is happy with the easy passage, but the problem lies when there is a difficult passage. Now in the case of difficult passages, what was happening was the group or जो बच्चे हैं, they used to struggle a lot trying to pull out the main idea. And what I understand of the verbal is, the whole verbal test is all about understanding. That's what I'm repeating my point. It is not about vocabulary, not reading speed, not literature skills, not English skills, nothing. सिर्फ एक ही चीज़ पे बेस्ड है, वो है अंडरस्टैंडिंग. आपकी समझ आ गया तो आंसर आ जाएगा. As simple as that. If you are able to understand a passage, then whatever the way I may be asking the question, मैं इधर से क्वेश्चन पूछ लूँ, उधर से पूछ लूँ, इधर से पूछ लूँ, कहीं से भी पूछ लूँ, you will be able to answer the question. So the point is, focus is the understanding part. Now, जब मैंने वो पैसेज को बार बार दे के देखा तो आई यूज्ड टू सी दैट लो परसेंटाइल पीपल कभी भी उस पैसेज को पकड़ ही नहीं पाते. सो व्हाट एक्चुअली आई स्टार्टेड वाज आई आस्क्ड अ वेरी स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन टू देम जस्ट टू ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड वो मेन आइडिया क्यों नहीं समझ पा रहा है. तो मैंने उसे एक सिंपल क्वेश्चन पूछा पूरे ग्रुप को कि आप बताइए व्हाट इज द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द पैसेज. वो पैराग्राफ का सब्जेक्ट कौन है, किसकी बात हो रहा है, या हिंदी में हम बोले तो कर्ता कौन है. मतलब इन द बेसिक थिंग when you are taught any language, even when you were taught English, I think it started with the noun, part of speech, I think you recall, 5th standard. So the first thing they taught was a noun, and noun is what? Subject. किसकी बात हो रहा है? वो passage बात किसकी कर रहा है? So what I found out was all the 60% and 70% of people, these people who just were starting with the CUET or a GMAT or any other preparation, they used to struggle with the subject. उनको यही नहीं पता है कि बात किसका हो रहा है. So I'll just, मैं एक आपको एक पैराग्राफ दिखाता हूँ, so that the same paragraph will show which I actually, the problem I faced in the group. तो इस पैसेज में, इस पैराग्राफ में I'll show you in just give me 5 to 3 minutes. तो I asked what is the subject here, and जहाँ हिंदी में आप अगर अच्छे हैं तो मैं बोलूँगा करता कौन है, किसकी बात हो रहा है, and people struggle with it. So what I did was I created a simple structure in front of them, just like an atom structure. Atom structure में क्या होता है? अंदर एक न्यूक्लियस होता है जिसमें प्रोटॉन्स और न्यूट्रॉन्स होता है और आसपास इलेक्ट्रॉन्स होता है. Just like I think most of the people are understanding what is an atom structure, but then also even arts and science, commerce student till 10th they had science, so they would be able to understand the atom structure. But then also अगर आप atom structure को नहीं समझते हैं तो just like a solar system, sun is in between and the planets are moving around it. I think solar system everyone understand. तो what exactly happened was, मैंने उन्हें ये बोला, I just एक structure मैंने बनाया जिसमें nucleus in the starting and the electrons are moving around it, and I just wrote in the center, this is a subject. Okay, and just tell me, I do a structure, मैंने उन्हें बोला subject बताओ क्या है. The time people were able to understand what is we are talking about, the passage became easy for them. So what exactly they did was, what I asked them was कि एक स्टार्टिंग में एक सब्जेक्ट लिखना है, उस सब्जेक्ट के आसपास 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हमने बनाने हैं. 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, फर्स्ट इज द सब्जेक्ट which is a nucleus of the center. I'll just even take a paragraph and I'll draw it for you so that you will understand what I'm saying is कि nucleus subject है और जो electrons आसपास move कर रहे हैं. What I said, what I did was I just like a memory game. What I asked them was, after reading the passage, I just said, take it as a memory game and give me 3 words. Whatever the words it might be an adjective, it might be a noun, it might be a verb, it might be adverb, whatever. 3 words, whatever you can recall from that group. And whenever I found out was that whoever do the structure, like nucleus, मतलब उसे nucleus को subject लिखा और 3 electrons में memory game पे 3 words दिया, they were able to come out with the main idea of the passage very, very accurately. Let me rephrase the whole thing so that you understand what I'm saying is, एक simple एक न्यूक्लियस बनाओ, आसपास 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स बनाओ, न्यूक्लियस में सब्जेक्ट लिख दो. इफ़ यू आर एबल टू पुल आउट द सब्जेक्ट, योर 90% ऑफ वर्क इज डन. अगर आपको ये पता है कि पैसेज, व्हाट इज द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द पैसेज, बिलीव मी इट्स नॉट वेरी इजी. बहुत ईजी लग रहा होगा, नाउन ही तो फाइंड आउट करना है, लेकिन आप प्रैक्टिकली वर्क करोगे तो यू विल अंडरस्टैंड. द होल आइडिया वॉज कि वो मेन आइडिया उनको पुल करने के लिए उनको कैसे हेल्प कर सकता हूँ. नाउ हाउ एग्जैक्टली ट्रेडिशनली पीपल टॉक अबाउट द मेन आइडिया. लेट मी थोड़ा सा फ्लो, लेट मी मेक ए बेटर फ्लो ऑफ द होल थिंकिंग. Verbal, number 1, verbal is all about understanding. Keep it in mind. Number 2, अंडरस्टैंडिंग मतलब गेटिंग द मेन आइडिया. मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि दे मे और मे नॉट हैव द, वो क्वेश्चन हो भी सकता है और नहीं भी हो सकता है. डोंट मूव इनटू इट. अगर क्वेश्चन मेन आइडिया नहीं भी पूछा है तभी मेन आइडिया आपको फाइंड आउट होना चाहिए. आई मीन टू से, अगर मैं वो पैसेज या पैराग्राफ या रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन में या पैराजम्बल्स या पैरासमरीज में एक पैराग्राफ में या CR में एक पैराग्राफ में, इफ़ आई एम एबल टू गेट द मेन आइडिया, मुझे पहला ये समझ आए किसकी बात हो रहा है और क्या बात हो रहा है, तो believe me, every answer will become very easy for you. So main idea, finding out a main idea, everything is very important. Rather मैं इसे आप main idea, why to go into the some terminology and some technical terminology. सिंपल बात ये है कि समझ नहीं आएगा तो कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे, तो समझना ज़रूरी है सब. और मेन आइडिया मतलब समझ. अगर वो पैराग्राफ का अगर मेन आइडिया आपको समझ आ रहा है तो इट मीन्स आप समझ गए. एक सब्जेक्ट डालना, 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स डालना. इलेक्ट्रॉन्स मतलब मेमोरी टेस्ट. पैसेज को बंद कर देना, 3 वर्ड्स बताना कि वॉट एवर यू कैन रिकॉल, जस्ट लाइक ए मेमोरी गेम. यू हैव प्लेड ए लॉट ऑफ मेमोरी गेम्स इन योर लाइफ. सो सिंपल स्ट्रक्चर, एक न्यूक्लियस है, न्यूक्लियस में सब्जेक्ट है, आसपास 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं और तीनों इलेक्ट्रॉन्स में क्या है, मेमोरी वर्ड्स. वॉट एवर द वर्ड्स यू कैन रिकॉल, टेक इट एज एनीथिंग, मेमोरी गेम, वॉट एवर मेमोरी वर्ड्स, कीवर्ड, कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग वर्ड, सप्लीमेंट्री कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री वर्ड, वॉट एवर यू कॉल इट. आई मीन से 3 वर्ड जो याद आ रहा है वो लिख देना एंड यू विल बी वेरी क्लोज टू योर मेन आइडिया एंड दैट विल help you answer every question very accurately. IQ टेस्ट में आंसर ऐसे प्लेस होता है कि if you move into the answer choices straight away, you will never be able to get the answer. So always predict an answer before moving into the answer choices. तो अगर मेन आइडिया मुझे क्लियर है तो आई वुड बी वेरी क्लियर कि सब्जेक्ट किसकी बात हो रहा है. अगर मुझे सब्जेक्ट को पता है तो मुझे इजीली पता है कि मुझे कैसे आंसर चॉइस पकड़ना है. और सेकेंड, अगर मैं 3 वर्ड्स निकाल पाऊँ. Now, what exactly traditionally कैसे इसे पढ़ाया जाता है? We show a paragraph to a student and we ask people to paraphrase it. Reading comprehension में भी यही होता है. Everywhere it happens the same. Reading, critical reasoning में भी यही होता है. Paraphrase करेगा कैसे जब समझ ही नहीं आएगा? अगर आपको समझ ही नहीं आया है तो आप paraphrase करोगे कैसे? समझने के लिए सबसे पहला स्टेप है सब्जेक्ट को ढूंढो. किसकी बात हो रही है? आप पूरा पैराग्राफ में ये बता पाओगे ना अगर कि किस चीज़ की बात हो रहा है, तो बिलीव मी, यू आर ऑलरेडी एट अ टॉपर इन वर्बल. इतना इजी नहीं है. कोई पैसेजेस लो, जस्ट टेल मी व्हाट इज द सब्जेक्ट, करता कौन है, किसका बात हो रहा है. जस्ट लाइक एवरी लैंग्वेज में सबसे पहले नाउन सिखाते हैं ना पार्ट ऑफ स्पीच में, जस्ट लाइक दे आर ऑलवेज टेलिंग यू द सब्जेक्ट और द नाउन. द सेम थिंग आई एम सेइंग. इफ यू वांट टू गेट ए वेरी एक्यूरेट मेन आइडिया ऑफ द पैसेज और ए पैराग्राफ, गो इनटू द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द थिंग. उसके बाद 3 वर्ड्स निकालो ए मेमोरी गेम की तरह एंड यू वुड बी एबल टू कम आउट विद द मेन आइडिया. नाउ व्हाट एग्जैक्टली ट्रेडिशनली व्हाट वी डू इज पैराफ्रेज करो, एक सेंटेंस बनाओ. पैराफ्रेज में सेंटेंस बनाओ. What is the problem in sentences? Sentence का एक basic problem क्या है? It should have a meaning. Now, rather than even आपका mind लग जाता है कि we have to create a meaningful sentence. Don't go into a sentence. Sentence बन जाएगा. आप subject ढूंढ लो, 3 memory words निकाल लो, sentence बन जाएगा. I meant to say, paragraph पढ़ा, बंद कर दिया, 3 words निकाल दो, अपनी memory से लिख दो, subject लिख दो. चारों वर्ड्स को देखना, सब्जेक्ट प्लस योर 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, यू विल गेट द मेन आइडिया. यू विल बी एबल टू कम आउट विद द फुल सेंटेंस आउट ऑफ इट एंड दैट इज द मेन आइडिया. once more I am repeating my point. Verbal is all about understanding, and the understanding is all about the main idea. Main idea पूछा या नहीं छोड़ो. And this is not I am talking about reading comprehension. Para jumbo, para summary, क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग हो, कुछ भी हो ना, समझ भी. मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल who struggle with verbal is the first problem they do is the first hindrance in their mind is it's an English test. अब इंग्लिश टेस्ट है तो क्यों ना वोकैबुलरी पढ़ी जाए, क्यों डिफिकल्ट वर्ड्स ही देखने लग जाते हैं, क्यों ना रीडिंग स्पीड पे फोकस करते हैं, क्यों ना हर चीज़ जो लैंग्वेज स्किल्स पे, लैंग्वेज स्किल के टेस्ट अलग होते हैं, उनको आइल्स, टोफल, पीटी बोलते हैं. वो लैंग्वेज टेस्ट होता है, उनका फोकस और ऑब्जेक्टिव भी बड़ा क्लियर होता है. क्लियर क्या है कि यूएस में जब जाएगा, कनाडा में जाएगा, यूके में जाएगा, तो लैंग्वेज तो आए, करेगा क्या वहाँ पे. द होल पॉइंट इज व्हेन वी आर टेस्टिंग यू फॉर IQ, why will I test you for the language? मैं एक कहानी सुना रहा हूँ और उस कहानी में आपको क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूँ, वो तभी आप आंसर कर सकते हैं जब आपका इंटेलेक्ट हाई है। जब इसीलिए वंस मोर आई एम मूविंग टू द पैसेज नाउ। Verbal is all about understanding, rather even quant is about understanding. Verbal is about understanding and understanding is all about main idea. अगर main idea निकल गया बाकी आंसर अपने आप निकल जाएंगे। I'm talking about every section in verbal. अब हम क्या करेंगे, उसी पैसेज को लेंगे and I would like every one of you to give me a structure of an atom. एक न्यूक्लियस है जिसमें आप लिखेंगे सब्जेक्ट और 3 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स आप देंगे which could be based upon your memory, whatever the memory words you may call it, or whatever the words you are able to recall. 3 वर्ड जो आपको समझ आया, ये चारों वर्ड will define आप कितने अच्छी तरह मेन आइडिया निकाल पाए उस पैराग्राफ का, कितनी अच्छी तरह समझ पाए, and it will also define how good you will score in verbal, and it will also define what exactly you'll do in your life further. जब टॉप किया नहीं किया, एवरेज आ गया, 80 में रह गए, 90 में रह गए, 99 रह गए, everything will come. Do this thing and you would be able to. I'm going to the passage. एक प्रैक्टिकल एक एग्जाम्पल कर देते हैं। ज्ञान तो बहुत हो गया, आप एक प्रैक्टिकली करके देखते हैं होता है क्या। Now let's everyone focus on the screen. Okay, so this is a paragraph I'm talking about. I was talking about earlier. Now I'm giving you some reference so that you will understand. We were talking about one of the passage, and it was linked with a movie called Arrival, which I think came in 2016 or 17. So in that, what exactly happens is, just for the reference I'm telling you, that some aliens comes to the earth and they are trying to communicate, and as humans we are trying to understand what they are talking about. So that was the movie all about. So actually this total passage has a reference to that movie. Okay, so when I was talking to the students, and when this was a paragraph in which almost all of them, rather 99% of the people, were never able to come out with the right paraphrasing, or in a way we can say, what is a paraphrase of a passage? A paraphrase is just like the main idea of any paragraph. Okay, now let's look at and let's apply our atom strategy in this paragraph as an example for everyone to see. Okay, now how exactly people do it? Now you just all the students keep on following the cursor. I think everyone is able to see the cursor here. Now when everyone reads, what exactly happens is, people will try to understand each and every word or a clause or a phrase or a sentence. Now kitna lines hai isme? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 lines. Now let's say in a situation people are not able to understand 4 words, or let's say in very extreme situation you may end up having isko bhi first line bhi samajh nahi aaya, second line bhi samajh nahi aaya. Let's say the person is not able to understand till here or even here. My question is, even if I'm not able to understand the 90% of the paragraph or a passage, can I come out with the main idea? My answer is yes. So what an IQ test will check is, as I already told you, it's not a language test. In Hindi we may call it mota samajhna hai, or in English we can say we have to get the synopsis or the main idea of the paragraph or a passage. So that the limitation we have to keep. So what exactly happens? Let's say you are reading it. How you will read it? Let's say I am going to read it. Even outside fiction, so keep on following the cursor if you can see. Imaginations are rather impoverished. The development of the constructed languages referred to as conlangs for fictional and other purposes draws primarily from linguistics. But as a science, linguistics generally focuses on discovering the general rules governing actual, observable human languages, their sounds, symbols or gestures, their grammar, the elements and the structure of their sentences. the meaning of the expressions, etc. And while conlangs may have a unique vocabulary, so flout one or more rules of human languages, the formula for creating one essentially involves adapting familiar elements from how earthlings communicate. Now, what exactly happens is, if any normal situation, anyone is reading it, if you're not able to understand one word, or let's say one sentence or two sentences or three sentences, people will keep on revisiting it, will keep on rereading it over and over again to understand. And now that's what the trick lies in. The point is, an IQ test can be framed in such a way that you may not be able to understand 80 or 70% of the whole paragraph, and then also you would be able to come out with the main idea. I mean, just let's say, I'll give you an example in a business situation. Let's say you are a CEO of the company. You may not know the chemical structure of the product. You may not know very details of the operations happening. But then also you take a decision. And how you take a decision? Getting the main idea of the whole situation. In the same way, as you are going for a business school, you are going to be the CEO of the company, or maybe you would be starting your own company. You have always to understand the mota point, or I would say the synoptic, or the main idea of the thing. So what the trick usually happens is, people will keep on getting baffled or confused, or I would say even dejected or disappointed, or even they will have a kind of a depression कि मुझे समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है, मुझे passage को समझ ही नहीं आ रहा, मुझे sentence समझ नहीं आ रहा, and how am I going to answer it? Now this atom strategy will help you. I'll go into the strategy, but I would like you to hear it once more. Okay, now what I will do is, I will ask the computer to read it, English as well as Hindi, so that if just for the revisit of the whole paragraph, and just try to reach the main idea of the paragraph.
Even outside fiction, imaginations are rather impoverished. The development of constructed languages, referred to as conlangs, for fictional and other purposes draws primarily from linguistics. But as a science, linguistics generally focuses on discovering the general rules governing actual, observable human languages, their sounds, symbols or gestures, their grammar, the elements and structure of their sentences, the meanings of their expressions, etc. And while conlangs may have unique or flout one or more rules of human languages, the formula for creating one essentially involves adapting familiar elements from how earthlings communicate. यहाँ तक कि कल्पना के बाहर भी कल्पनाएं बहुत कमजोर हैं। काल्पनिक और अन्य उद्देश्यों के लिए निर्मित भाषाओं, जिन्हें कॉनलैंग्स कहा जाता है, का विकास मुख्य रूप से भाषा विज्ञान से प्रेरित है। लेकिन एक विज्ञान के रूप में भाषा विज्ञान आमतौर पर वास्तविक अवलोकनीय मानव भाषाओं को नियंत्रित करने वाले सामान्य नियमों की खोज पर ध्यान केंद्रित करता है, उनकी ध्वनियां, प्रतीक या हावभाव, उनका व्याकरण, उनके वाक्यों के तत्व और संरचना, उनके भावों के अर्थ आदि। और जबकि कॉनलैंग्स में अद्वितीय शब्दावली हो सकती है या मानव भाषाओं के एक या अधिक नियमों का उल्लंघन हो सकता है, एक बनाने का सूत्र अनिवार्य रूप से पृथ्वीवासियों के संवाद करने के तरीके से परिचित तत्वों को अपनाना शामिल है।
Now you have read the same paragraph 2 times, rather one in Hindi even, so 3 times. Now just try to find out the main idea. Now what exactly happened in our cases was, in all the classes, many of the classes, what we saw was 99% of people were not able to get the main idea very crisply. Now in that, the atom strategy, I'll just show you how exactly it helped the whole thing. Now I understand many sentences, many phrases, and in the whole the passage thoda sa difficult hai that I even understand it. But let's say I just use an atom strategy. What I will do is, let's say we draw an atom. Okay, small nucleus, let's say, and we have electrons around it. Okay, Now this is a nucleus and these are the electrons. Let's say this is one of the electron, one of the electron. Okay. Now let's say I'm talking about the nucleus part. Okay. Now in the nucleus part and one of the electron part, let's say. In nucleus part, what you have to do is you have to find the subject of the passage. कर्ता, इस पैसेज का कर्ता या सब्जेक्ट किसकी बात हो रहा है, what exactly we are talking about. Now when this question was asked to the student, many of the people were able to answer this question, and we are talking about conlangs. We are talking about what we can call it as constructed languages. So this passage, let me just tell you what exactly this passage is talking about. This is putting the whole thing like constructed language, just like if you people are a fan of Big Bang Theory and everything, there was a language called Klingon language. So it's a constructed language. What they're saying is, even when we are constructing a language, now how we will construct a language? We will use fiction or imagination to develop a constructed language or a conlangs. In the conlangs, even with the fiction, we actually using the linguistic patterns only to make a fictional language, and that becomes our limitation. Okay, so even if you are not able to understand many of the parts of the passage or the paragraph, can you tell me any words which you can recall? Now you can easily say one word, even if you are not able to understand the whole passage. The first word or the electron is, there are limitations. Now these words you are developing without even understanding the paragraph, okay? And this is how the atom strategy will work. The second word which you can recall is, the inspiration is always coming from where? Our languages. Now these are the 3 or 4 words we have. Now the nucleus of the subject is the conlangs, and some of the words or the main words which I can recall even after not understanding the paragraph are, there are limitations, and they are talking about inspiration taking from the languages. Now let's construct the main idea from these 3-4 words. Obviously the only way you can develop a meaning is, the conlangs have a limitation. Conlangs is what? Constructed language. जो language हम बना रहे हैं, हम कैसे बनाते हैं language? हम बनाएंगे, हम fiction use करेंगे, imagination use करेंगे. For example, if he's saying me, it in Klingon language it may means that X, Y, Z and all. So what exactly happens in that case is, if after a paragraph, if you are clear about the subject which forms your nucleus, and you are able to give me, I will call it main words, even 2 to 3, you would be able to come out with the main idea even without understanding 80% of the paragraph. So that's what an IQ test wants from you. An IQ test doesn't want you to do PhD in English. They don't want vocabulary. They don't want you to understand each and everything. But even 90% of the paragraph you're not able to understand, if you're able to come out with the main idea or even the main words, you would be able to come out with the main idea. Now, this is what I call it as an atom strategy, and that helps a lot in it actually applies to all the people who struggles with the main idea, and rather, if it is a difficult paragraph, all people, everyone struggles with the main idea. Okay, now one more thing I told you in many of the classes was, that in an IQ test, never move into the answers without having your answer. For example, every answer choices are so much close to each other that most of the people will actually have a lot of accuracy issue. But right now we have an answer. So let's move into the question. Okay, the question says, what is the main idea or the primary focus or the main central idea, whatever you may call it? The linguistic complexity of a haptapod language in Arrival. Basically, it's talking about Arrival, the movie. So, are we only talking about the complexity? Answer is no. Now, second, the limitations of human imagination in creating an alien language, and just try to see how much close is this answer with your main idea. C, the philosophical implication of the encountering extraterrestrial languages. No. The similarities between human and fictional alien languages. No. So just see how easy it becomes. Now, for all the people who wants to test this strategy, don't use the atom strategy, okay? And try to come out with the main idea. Straight away read the paragraph, move into these answers and come out. I can straight away tell you that you would struggle a lot. Every of these choices will look like an answer to you. Every of the choices here. Reason being, most of the people, rather everyone, what they will do is whenever they are reading a passage, they will try to move into each and every complexity, each and every understanding, and that's where the trick lies. Don't be a perfectionist. Even an average strategy with good execution is much better than a very good strategy with an average execution. So the point what I'm saying is, even without understanding 90% of the paragraph, I can come out with the main idea if I'm using this strategy. So don't believe on me, okay? The best way for you to do is go into the paragraphs which you were never able to answer, and use the atom strategy and just see, is it helpful or not? Identify a subject, and after reading the paragraph, come out with 2 or 3 main words which you can recall. And believe me, 99% of the time your accuracy would be 100%. So let's check this atom strategy for everyone to check. Okay, bye bye for this session.